You know, I almost didn't review this movie this week. I mean, I technically do have a Hansel and Gretel review on this series already, and even if you don't take into account that this series has been on the shelf for several months, the distance between that video and this one on the old playlist is probably going to get people concerned and thinking, yeah, this dude's kind of a one-trick pony. Yeah, if I wanted to hear somebody riff on fairy tales over and over again, I'd watch Phalus or something. And that's not who I wanted to be. Oh God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? But then, the thought occurred to me that, dude, it's the week of 420. You need to chill. You need to roll up a doobie and just relax. Well, unfortunately, marijuana is not legal in the state that I currently reside, so that's out of the option, so I guess I'm gonna have to go with plan B and just go ahead and go through with this plan. We're gonna talk about a good old-fashioned stoner comedy by the name of Hansel and Gretel Get Baked. To hell with whether or not there's another Hansel and Gretel review up here earlier on in the chronology. We're just gonna do it. So there. In your face, statistics. So as you might have guessed, in this version of the legendary story, Hansel and Gretel are stoners. They are college kids, or at least in their early 20s at most. And they are searching for the ultimate high. Then their friends point out the legendary Black Forest High, which you can find in this old cottage that this old lady is selling. Unfortunately, the old lady in question isn't everything she seems to be. Throughout the movie, she's eating people and stealing their life force and just overall killing as many people who she possibly can who happen to show up at her doorstep. If I'm being entirely honest, I was not expecting this movie to be a horror flick when I first found it. I was expecting it to be maybe horror-ish. I mean, come on, even the original Hansel and Gretel story had a witch that tried to cook them, but I was kind of expecting something more along the lines of a Jay and Silent Bob or a Cheech and Chong, or maybe to a lesser extent the people who make the scary movies, you know? By which I mean the franchise Scary Movie, not like horror films in general. I was kind of expecting something more along those lines, something corny, something funny, maybe not good, but relatively harmless at absolute worst, and at absolute best. What I ended up getting was something that ended up being surprisingly gory, all things considered. Like, some of the stuff that happens to the very first guy was like, yikes. I was not expecting it to go this dark so quick, or really even at all. They do throw a couple of nods to the story of Hansel and Gretel, not just in the fact that Hansel and Gretel are honest-to-God things that these two people are named, but in the sense that one character is using a trail of Skittles so they don't get lost. Unfortunately, she ends up eating most of the Skittles afterwards, because, dude, I got the munchies. We've all been there. One thing I did kind of find interesting was this movie came out in 2013, and just looking at the movie, I kind of thought for sure it was older than that. I kind of get the feeling this is a pattern with a lot of the more recent stuff I've been looking at in this series, but in the case of this one, it had less to do with just my brain reprogramming information, and it had more to do with the fact that I just assumed it came out earlier than 2013 because characters very casually use words like retarded and, shall we say, the other F word, and that was really something more indicative of the 2000s than the 2010s. And in terms of stoner comedies, it's not the funniest one I've ever seen, but it gets the job done. And in terms of horror movies, I will admit it's a very interesting take on the Hansel and Gretel story that I honestly would never have thought of on my own, and really, the more I watched it, the more I was really interested in seeing how it went, you know? Does the witch get thrown in the oven, or do they kill her some other way? Do they roll her up and smoke her? I don't know. This could be an interesting movie. Overall, I recommend you give it a watch. I mean, it's not Shakespeare. I mean, it's honestly not even Kevin Smith, but it's definitely worth a watch if you've got an afternoon to kill and nothing better to do, and you happen to be like me, living in a state where marijuana is illegal, and you just want to watch other people enjoy the high that you're never going to have, like, you know, like a vicarious thing. 3 hats out of 4. And that's going to do it for this week's It Came from Pluto TV. Be sure to tune in next week when I have another review for your viewing pleasure. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on Twitter at TommyTealHat. I will bring back the teal hat itself for the next one because this felt more appropriate. Until next time. Hashtag not sponsored, by the way. Just throwing that out there.